So now that we've created a subdomain, we're ready to go ahead, and we can do this on our primary domain or a subdomain. What we're going to do is through our control panel, go ahead and create a WordPress website. How do we do that? So we scroll up here and we look across our top menu, and where we want to go is to Installer, Application, Installer. What is great about this installer is it, of course, offers us WordPress, but it offers us many different websites that we can use and breaks them down into different categories and classifications so that we can find what we're looking for. And for this tutorial, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to look at the WordPress site. And we're going to come over and we're going to click Install. We're given this dialog box with lots of information, and the place that we want to install this one is on the subdomain that we created for a class, which is professor-savage.rackreallife.com. The next thing, it gives us a directory, and what this would do is if we left WordPress there, actually in the root of our site, as you can see here, it would actually install WordPress inside the root of our site. That's not what we want. What we want is for it to go ahead and just put it in the root of our site. And so I got rid of the WordPress in here, and I'm just telling it to install it in the root directory, meaning the top of the website. And you can see this now is our URL that we will use to get to this website once we're done installing it. We'll go ahead and we'll create a admin user. In this case, I'm going to use Rack Real Life. I would encourage you not to use admin or any type of name that people would associate with admin, because immediately hackers, the first username they try to get in on is admin, and it makes perfect sense. Also, I would not use a password such as ABC123, one of the most popular passwords that they found in studies that people use, and it's the first one in most hackers' algorithms that they try. So at this point, we'll go ahead and we'll just create a password. I'm going to create a very simple one called my password, and you'll see why in a minute, because what happens is then whoever has access to this control panel, what you're creating is the password to your WordPress website. And in this control panel, we as admins actually have access to view and see that password. If you were building websites for different clients, this would be very useful, because what it would allow you to do is to go ahead and change or update their password or remind them of what their password is. Not a good practice in my opinion, but something you can do. The admin email address. This email address essentially will be the email address that the WordPress website uses as the admin email. So anytime there's not an email address specified for a certain function or feature inside your WordPress site, it will use this email address as default. For this exercise, tutorial, and lesson assignment, I would ask you to name your website PS dash and then your name, first and last name. And then what I would like you to put on it is, so we'll use example online class web dash 100 dash 3800, your class ID as well. This will help me better grade and see what's going on with your website as we go through exercises and things of that nature. Also to help you if there's an issue. Under the database prefix, we'll learn more about databases in another lesson. But right now, what the database prefix does is when you create a database, there are tables inside of it, and it actually puts a prefix that it prepends, puts this on the front of each table name, essentially as a way of grouping these tables together in case you do something like a multiple installation and use the same database. There's an array of reasons why you do this. For now, we're going to go ahead and we're just going to say that our database will be prefixed with BS. I know. Keep the jokes. I know. This will put a BS on the front of every table name. We're going to go ahead and say we're going to create a database. You'll notice that it takes your username that you used to log in and it puts it right in there. What we want to do is append now the BS to the end of that. And so this is what they'll actually create. The database name and username will be exactly this. It's really good to find a system for naming your databases because it can get quite junky at sometimes, and you can end up with quite a lot of databases, and they're randomly, if you just allow the system to make them, they're randomly made up with different numbers and things of that nature, and it becomes very confusing and very time consuming when you're trying to work with your databases. So I'm going to go ahead and keep a simple password on this again as well, and because you will again be able to see this. And we're going to say add new database. You should receive a message basically saying, hooray, you've made your database. If you get a red message saying that there was a problem, check the length of your database name. That's usually an issue. But in this case, if you're doing it correctly according to my instructions, I highly doubt any of you will actually run into a problem. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to come down and we're going to select one of the available themes that they make available to us to go ahead and create our WordPress website. The majority of WordPress themes are already responsive, meaning they work on a phone, they work on a tablet, and they work on a desktop, and they resize themselves to be user-friendly and attractive on each of those devices. You can see we have quite a few selections. One of the things you want to be careful with when you're working in theming is how much time it actually can take up on you. You can find yourself playing with themes for an entire day. So for this time, for what we're doing, let's go ahead and we are going to select the theme that has Helvetica on the front of it here. Now we're going to go ahead and say install WordPress. Now that the WordPress site has been created, it actually gives us this information. Our information, why I told you to be careful about passwords, is if you see my password is right there. And at this point, we can go. This information is accessible as well from, if I close this out, and we go up here to this tab where it says Installed Applications, we can see the site that we just installed. We can back it up from here, and what we can do is get our details from here as well. We'll come back to the details in a second because I want to mention to you that you actually could change the template if you chose to do so from here. Quite useful, especially if you're dealing with clients and you're setting their sites up. And another super great feature is that you can reset the password. And this is the password that you use to log in to your WordPress website, which we will do before we complete this video. Additionally, it'll allow you to go to File Manager, and it'll show you where all of your files for your WordPress site are, and you'll be able to actually work on those files from within inside this File Manager, which we will do another video on File Manager. Let's go ahead and go back to our installed applications. And let's go take a look at our site. So we'll click on Details. Remember your username and password, right? And here is our website URL, and you'll see this is our admin URL. What we'll do first is hold down Command for Mac users, Control for PC users, because we don't want this window leave this window, and we'll click on it, and it'll open another tab. That other tab opens up our site, and here we are. A very generic WordPress website. Name is there. And we're already going. How do we start changing and taking a look at this website? It's quite easy. When you have a WordPress website, a default WordPress website, you'll see up here in the URL locator that I can type in wp-admin and hit enter. Whoa. It's not exactly what I was looking for. We'll try that one more time. -wp-admin. Make sure it stays up there. And it takes us to a login page. In this case, if you recall, my username was rackreallife and my password was my password. So I'll put rackreallife in here and then my password and click login. At this point, it takes us, you can prompt to save your password. Most browsers will prompt you to do this and allow you to save your passwords and things like that. We'll bypass that for right now. And it takes us into our WordPress control panel. That'll conclude this video, and we'll pick up on more things that we can do inside this control panel and how we can start to make our site our site.